Wish that I could bake a cake made out of rainbows and smiles and we'd all eat it, be happy.
She doesn't even go here.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here. Hashtag Mondays.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah!
Using his vast knowledge of history and politics, we start our day off right with motivational speaker Richard Battle.
Love having him on. Mr. Battle, how are you today?
Good morning, Al. Thanks so much for having us back lead off again as we start baseball season.
Baseball season's around the corner, man. Pitchers and catchers have showed up. I've known you a long time, so maybe this, well, it doesn't surprise me. Maybe people need to understand. Last week, you and I sat and chatted about President's Day, and I made the case for Abe Lincoln, the greatest president of all time, and you have to argue with me a little bit about it. Now, I didn't judge you on it, but then you spend the week coming up with the why George Washington is better. I should have seen that coming. You've written the book on them both, so I mean, I'm going to have a hard time arguing it, but that's what we're going to talk about, your buddy George. You love George.
Well, George Washington's birthday is Sunday.
Yeah.
And until from 1879 to 1971, George Washington's birthday and Abraham Lincoln's birthday were holidays. We got them off of school, banks were closed, etc. And then some person of questionable thought decided to lump all the presidents in together and make it a Monday holiday to create a 3-day weekend. And since we've had this President's Day, my opinion, and I contend that's disrespectful for Washington and Lincoln, and we need to reinstitute Washington's birthday as a national holiday.
All right. But in your writings, you wrote him as the GOAT. This is you rubbing my nose in it. You called him the GOAT, the greatest of all time, and we're going to argue a little bit. Okay. So this putting them together, how long were we celebrating? I mean, it just came out of Tuesday and you got the day off. How long were we doing that? When did we change this? Do you know when we moved it into one?
Yes, 1971.
Son of a gun, I will have to look up.
And that was a time when there were several holidays that were changed to be celebrated on Mondays so that you could have long weekends. So just imagine taking Christmas and putting it on the fourth Monday of December every year. And to me, it's sacrilegious, and it's sacrilegious to put Washington in with the other 40-something presidents.
Yeah. Well, okay, we can go that. And like, I guess mine is, I mean, nothing wrong with a 3-day weekend. I get that. But I like a good Wednesday off. I like it middle of the week. Just give me a thing. Hey, I only got to get 3 days, go back. I like those. That's okay. Now you got to make your case. I get it. He was the first one, but somebody had to be the first one. Okay.
Well, he was more than the first one, but here's another reason. Just imagine you're a 5-year-old kid and you're talking to your parents about your birthday party, and your birthday's February 18th, and the parents say, well, that's not convenient for a party. We need to do the party on February 20th. The kid is going to scream and cry because the birthday is what's special. And so when we celebrate Washington's birthday on President's Day, that tells the kid that Washington's not important. And without Washington, we would be speaking British and be British subjects versus being free American citizens. And that gift he and the founders gave us.
Not enough. We put him on Mount Rushmore. That not enough?
No, that's not enough at all, even though he's the lead figure on Mount Rushmore. But his character is the one we want our children to learn. His honesty, he had no ego. He had no ambition to be this great leader. He could have been king. If they want to protest No King's Day, they ought to do that on Washington's birthday, because he could have been king or president for life because of what he did, not what he said. Too often today, politicians are looked up to for what they say, not what they do.
Yeah. Back to Mount Rushmore quick and all the statues is anybody doing that stuff anymore? When is the last time America really did something profound like that? Hey, let's make Mount Rushmore. Let's put the money behind it. Let's do something really cool. When's the last time we did that?
Well, I think you're seeing some efforts today in expanding the White House with the ballroom.
Oh, there you
go. Trying to make the Kennedy Center better than it was. I think you're going to see some big projects coming, but you're right. And that's all part of celebrating America as a sovereign country, not having us be a single country as part of the global nations, if you will, and make us ordinary like everybody else is. We have a reason to be proud of our heritage and our forebears. And so we need to recognize and celebrate them, which is why I'm working on the series AmeriCANS Who Made America, because people known and unknown to us gave us this great gift, and it's our responsibility to perpetuate it for future generations.
It makes sense to me, now that I know you're biased towards the first president, that he's the first one. Page 27 of the book. It makes more sense now. You buried Lincoln down in the pile of people. I get where you're coming from, and I'm not opposed to it. For folks who don't know, and this is what back to when we have social studies class now, you get a day on Washington, right? Maybe 20 minutes during social studies class. People don't really understand that we're on the brink of losing the war, right? We are going to lose this war. Winter hits. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. We don't have the people. People are walking around with socks on their feet, no shoes, stuff like that. And I'm sure it was in your book. Winter hits. Everyone thinks this thing's going to stop, right? We're all hunkered down for a while. But that was Washington's, well, they're not waiting. They're not expecting us. Let's go get them kind of mentality, right?
Well, yes. And so after the Declaration was signed July 4th of 1776, which we'll celebrate this year, and they pledged their lives, fortunes, and sacred honor, there were death warrants on Washington and the signers. And so they had been in Brooklyn fighting the British, and the British chased them out of Brooklyn. There was a miraculous fog that allowed them to escape to Manhattan. They were in Manhattan. The British chased them across the river, the Hudson River, into New Jersey. Then the British chased them all the way down New Jersey and across the Delaware into Pennsylvania. The Continental Congress was so afraid they fled Philadelphia and went to Baltimore because they thought the British were going to overrun them. Mid-December 1776, the soldiers had no shoes, no clothes, no food. Yeah. Half of them's enlistments were up January 1st. Washington knew if he allowed them to sit there, which was common in those days in warfare, winter camp, that it would just evaporate. The whole revolutionary movement would evaporate. So that's when he came up with the audacious plan. Christmas night, cross the Delaware, attack Trenton on the day after. The password showed what was at stake. It was victory or death.
That's just, yeah. And obviously that's what the pictures are, him crossing the Delaware and all that. I got to go to break. We'll talk more about this, and of course you can get it in AmeriCANS Who Made America, 18th Century Birth of the Republic. These are the kind of things he's talking about. We've got more coming up. It's Richard Battle on the Al Travis Show.
Think about it. A famous politician once said, "You're entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own facts." But in a world full of AI and fake news, where can Minnesotans find the facts? Center of the American Experiment is Minnesota's go-to source for fact-based analysis and common sense solutions for taxes, energy, public safety, and our kids' education. Visit AmericanExperiment.org for more information. Think About It is brought to you by Center of the American Experiment, Minnesota's think tank.
When the stakes are high at the Minnesota Capitol, you need more than a lobbyist, you need a partner. At Momentum Advocacy, we bring nearly 90 years of combined experience in government relations, public affairs, and strategic communications. From nonprofits to national corporations, we help organizations navigate Minnesota's political landscape with integrity, insight, and results. Whether you need legislative champions or headlines, Momentum Advocacy delivers. For more, visit momentum-advocacy.com. Momentum Advocacy, your friends at the Capitol.
ask him his opinion more than once. Al Travis on The Al Travis Show.
I love having him on, Mr. Richard Battle. He's the man who's writing the books, AmeriCANS, Who Made America. The 18th century is where we're at today, talking George Washington. So stumper question to my history friend. So why was General George Washington General George Washington? We didn't have an army predating this, right? And we signed the thing, and okay, George, you got the cutest outfit, and you get to be the general. What was his? You know what I'm saying? Why? I don't know if anyone's ever told me exactly why he. Okay, you're general. Go ahead, you're it. Why was he the general to begin with?
That's a great question, because George Washington fought with the British in the French and Indian War. He was a young 20-something-year-old officer and fought with them then. He miraculously escaped. He had horses shot out from under him. He had bullets go through his clothing but never strike his body. So people thought that there was providence involved with his survival. And he wanted so badly to have a regular commission in the British Army, but they would not give him one. And that's what made him go on the Patriot side. If the British would have given him a commission earlier, he would have ended up being a British soldier as opposed to an American soldier.
See, that's the stuff we don't learn in school. That is a fascinating story. I'm just like, okay, I don't know how who's captains, who's the rest. We didn't have an army. Everybody kind of signs up, so you're that. That is a great story. You know, things would have been different if they had just, threw him a lieutenant's job somewhere. Holy smokes. I didn't know that. Okay, that's a great one. And of course, as we do, because you're known for this, and I don't know where you find them all, he was known for quote after quote after quote. Is that because that was the way he thought and it just shrunk it down? Or is this, he said a bunch of stuff and then when somebody rewrote it, they kind of massaged the words. Some of it is hard to believe, like victory or death.
Well, that was the password that night, but yes. And in this volume, I've got over 250 quotes because I want the 40 people that I profile to be able to speak with their own voice. And you're right. A couple of my favorites: the harder the conflict, the greater the triumph. Yeah. And isn't that the same with all our lives? Here's one today for our politicians: to contract new debts is not the way to pay old ones. How many politicians are telling us now we need to borrow money so we can continue spending in more and more debt? That's what they're trying to sell us. He told us that was foolish years ago.
Let me tell you the one that really hits me, especially for today. And this guy, 250 years ago, people said, few men have virtue to withstand the highest bidder. You wonder how people go to Congress today making $170,000. They all of a sudden got $30, $40, $50 million. You know what? Few people can handle that. That, to me, that is so amazing because, they had the war for what, a 3-cent tax on a gallon of tea, and these people today, are just selling their souls to the devil. I love that one. Sorry, that was my fave.
Well, I'll supplement it, and it's right, because Harry Truman says you can't get rich in politics unless you're a crook.
Oh, yeah. See, but it's just so funny. These are founders. They just talked about how humans are, right? They just knew these are basic things. 250 years later, you might say we're a better society. We know more about feelings and have different words for it. You know what? We're all the same. There are few people who have virtue enough to withstand the highest bidder. That just says it all, man. I love that.
Well, and that's why it's so instructive for us to learn from people that came before us. And as I say, smart people learn from their experience. Brilliant people learn from the experience of others. Yeah. And so seeing what they did, the mistakes they made, the things they excelled at, their quotes, we can take all of those things and help our lives today and help our children's lives today and tomorrow as well.
Can we do two more? If freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silence may be led like sheep to the slaughter. Thank you, Elon Musk, for buying X.
Yes, absolutely. And how about the blessing and protection of heaven are at all times necessary, but especially so in times of public distress and danger.
See, I don't know, that guy sits around having cocktails and just coming up brilliant sayings. I don't know if that just comes out of his mouth. This stuff is fantastic. To be prepared for war is one of the most effective means of preserving peace. Since Reagan, right? Peace through strength. Yes. The only one. Yeah.
Well,
That's
and
what
that
we're
works
talking
for countries, for businesses. It
Your
works
whole-
against bullies in the schoolyard.
I love it. They just put it out there. Okay. How do you find out about all this stuff? You get the books. It started with, by the way, history by Americans by Americans, not AmeriCANS. That was the first book, right?
Made in America by Americans, not Americans.
And then you threw out just we're getting down to the Americans who made America, the 18th century, birth of the republic. That's one got Georgia in their front first, but you're going to love that book. We're up to the 19th century, growth, division, and reunification. But if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not, last week you told us we're getting close to the next one, aren't we? When's the next one coming?
We'll be hitting the stands with the 20th century volume, and we've got 43 people, 40 profiles, 450 quotations, a lot of great stories.
And where are you on that mix? It's coming out. And what have you just put the baby to bed and just a matter of typesetters typing it all up or whatever they do to make books anymore? Where are you on that process?
The publisher has it and is doing their magic at the moment.
Love that. Before we went on, you're having to do editing. Is it hard to edit your own stuff?
Well, it can be, but it's easier than it used to be years ago, thankfully.
Well, why is that? Because it's all just on computers and it's easy to cut and paste, or why was that?
Yeah, it's easier to modify on the computer document versus on paper. Okay. And then I had an editor look at it before I send it to the publisher, and then a publisher's editor, so they massage it.
Well, yeah, but that's the massaging. What I mean, you don't want to talk bad about it, I'm sure. It's one thing for somebody to say, hey, you spelled there, or there wrong. Okay, yeah, I got it. Okay, fix that. But when you're writing something down that you've done the research on, and this is how you phrased it, and someone says that doesn't work for me, do you just tell them to shape up or ship out? That'd be the part. How much do they change the writing? I love the style. It's very easy to read. They're easy to read books. How much is that because that's how you write it, or that's how they massaged it? I think you called it.
Well, for better or worse, it's mostly me. So very, very rarely do they suggest anything other than punctuation changes.
Okay, well, that's what I meant by editing your own work. Is like when somebody you've not met in DC says, maybe you should say it like that. I'd be like, slap. Okay, we're not doing that. If somebody want to pick up the books, they want to get them from you, how do they do it, Mr. Battle?
RichardBattle.com. All books are signed, and we have a Patriot bundle, as a matter of fact. If you'll email me, richard@richardbattle.com, after ordering, we're happy to personalize it and inscribe it for gifts. If you go to Amazon, all 12 books are there, including 11 in Kindle and 8 in audio versions.
Sounds good. It's Richard Battle, richardbattle.com. I will give him this. Washington is a fantastic president. I'm still leaning on Abe. Old Abe is my guy. Appreciate you, Mr. Battle. See you again next week.
Always my pleasure. God bless America.
If it's your turn to host